we go.
Yep.
All set?
Yep.
Good evening. Welcome to the June 14th, 2022 Murraysville Planning Commission meeting. Will you please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one
nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Patty, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Lemke, Ms. Hoy,
Here.
Mr. Midal,
Here.
Mr. Patrick,
Here.
Mr. Olszewski,
Here.
Mr. Kearns,
Here.
Mr. Levecki.
Tonight we have a public hearing concerning the rezoning of approximately 22 acres of land on Logan's Ferry Road from R1 to R3 residential. The way we'll do the public hearing, Mr. Morrison's going to give a brief background. We will then have the applicant state his case, and then we'll throw it open to questions from the Planning Commission and audience members, if there are any. And we're not giving away a car tonight. There's no car raffle tonight, so some of you who came out for that, I'm sorry. Jim?
Yes. Green Space LLC submitted an application for an advisory meeting before the Planning Commission to present a plan to rezone, as Mr. Midal had stated, 19.3 acres originally of ground from R3 to R1. On April 12th, the applicant appeared before the Planning Commission as an advisory session, and at that point, the Planning Commission directed if he wished to proceed that he submit an application. Application was submitted May 10th. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission, and as part of that review process, incorporated 3 additional lots in the rezoning review for purposes of from a land use and planning point of view, and is to not to create an island of R1 there amongst the R3, since the original 19.3 acres surrounded those 3 parcels. If you can put that up on the screen, please. Those 3 parcels being those located there, 3326 Logan's Ferry, 3350 Logan's Ferry, and 3352 Logan's Ferry. This is the 19.3 original acres. R3 zoning to the south, R2 to the east across Logan's Ferry, mixed use down here. This is a development, an existing development off of Logan's Ferry Road. At the May 10th meeting, the Planning Commission reviewed the application, as I said, authorized the public hearing, which brings us to the meeting this evening. The Planning Commission is a recommending body. They can choose to recommend rezoning of all the properties, none of the properties, or any portion of the properties. This is the first step of the process. Their recommendation then goes before the council, at which another public hearing will be held, and council has the same option. They can zone all properties indicated, they can rezone some of them, or none of them. We followed through the Act 247 guidelines, posted the property, sent notices to property owners within 200 feet, and forwarded the application to the county for comment. There was no comment by Westmoreland County. There was an error in the posting of the properties, physical posting of the properties, which indicated that those 3 property owners had requested the rezoning. That is not accurate. I presented that to legal counsel. They said it was not substantive, that you should proceed with the public hearing. So we're here tonight to take public comment on the proposed rezoning of those 4 properties along Logan's Ferry Road from from R1 to R3.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Mr. Hogenroder, are you representing the applicant? I am. Give your name for the court reporter, please.
My name is Charles Hogenroder. I'm an attorney, and I represent the applicant in this case.
Thank you.
As Mr. Morrison said, our application was only for the 2 properties that we had requested. rezoning on. We had given you at last time a rendering of what could be built on the property, and of course, that was done by an engineer, assuming the property was absolutely perfect. You know, there was no steep slopes, no defects, no creeks, no anything. So the applicant will be forced, because of the topography, to reduce the amount of townhouses and what have you that are being put into or going to be erected in the property. This property, as you know, sits in Logan's Ferry, and it fits the criteria that the council has looked at for R3 zoning. I mean, it's basically the R3 zoning fits people sort of like myself and a number of people on the planning commission that have the gray hair and everything that want to stay in Murraysville, build a second, yeah, it's great. Well, second round of homes in Murraysville, don't want to leave Murraysville, and would like something that's a little more conducive to, living as a senior. Well, basically all on one floor, don't have to cut the grass, don't have to shovel snow. In this case, the property is sort of perfect for that because right across the street is Medic One. Right next door is the
Volunteer fire.
Volunteer Fire Company, and right next door is the
Care home.
care home, right. You can basically, because of the price of gasoline today, you could walk to Ferries, you can walk, whatever that is now, Mainline Pharmacy. You can walk to the church, you can walk to Bob's, you can walk to the bank. You don't need to take your car. Unfortunately, because of the topography, the project would be reduced. There's probably going to be between 11, 12, 14 townhomes into there, and then several single-family homes. I'll let Sushil talk about what it's going to look like, or what we propose it's going to look like. I recognize that's really not part of the rezoning, but I'm sure the people here have a lot of questions regarding what's going in there, what's it going to be, how many people are going to be there, and those kinds of things.
Mr. Marino, just to follow up, this is for the rezoning. This is not for the development of the property. The rezoning, if done, will remain always a R3 property, whether the property is developed or not to the concept that's being proposed here.
Also, as you know, just so that everyone knows, that the rezoning will not change the present uses of anybody's property, whether it's rezoned R3 or not. There's no change in their uses. They will continue to use the properties as a single-family home, and that can be stacked on from generation to generation to generation. The only time that a non-conforming use ceases is if there is a one-year gap of use, and that 1 year has to be continuous. In that case, then it would revert to the correct zoning. But as far as use, the use will continue just as it is. Nothing will basically change in their use of the properties. Sushil, you want to talk about what it's going to look like?
Jim, if you can bring up the plan. So my name is Sushil Shinde. I'm representing the Sushil Shinde. It's S-U-S-H-I-L. Sushil Shinde, S-H-I-N-D-E.
Doesn't want to come over.
The one I have on the pen drive is the latest rendering that I got from my engineering firm. What we had submitted as part of the application was the worst case scenario, how many home sites, townhomes that we can build on the property. That was submitted as part of the application, so the planning commission would know in the worst case scenario how many townhomes will be built. But now, since we are progressing, we are consulting with the engineering firm and looking at the regulation, setbacks, and the topography. We are able to build maybe maximum 12 townhomes in the front area, and in the back area, we are still looking at the cost-benefit analysis, but looking at the setbacks, and if you are to build the municipal standard road, then we are not able to get the maximum use in the rear portion of the property. So in the best case scenario, I think we'll be able to build maybe 12 townhomes and 3 single-family homes in the backside of the property. So that's a plan that we have. And the townhomes that we're going to build, they will be minimum 2,000 square feet in living space, with the master bedroom on the main floor, powder, and the laundry room, everything on the main floor.
Due to technical difficulties beyond our control.
We do not have a copy of the site plan
Yeah, I don't see it in here.
in there, and
Yeah, we just received it yesterday from the engineering firm, so I was not able to submit in time.
give a second here for Mr. Morrison to,
It's getting a hard copy.
Engineers, Furniture, McCarty, Craig, Brian.
I'm sorry, can I have that again?
were we able to get it?
I can see it on mine, but I can't drag it over to the overhead.
Okay. We don't have a paper copy here that they could lay out?
No.
Okay. Sir, you mentioned that these are 12 to 14 townhomes, but yet you indicated that you were trying to look at the over 55 senior community. My vision of a townhouse is typically a garage, a first floor, and there's steps involved.
He said the master and the powder and the laundry are all going to be on the first floor.
What about the garage?
Garage will be also on the first floor.
Okay. So that's the style that you're
Yes, yeah.
looking for. Okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
So no basement?
Some of those will have basements based on the topography because of the hilly area.
All right.
Some of them will have basement, yeah.
Okay.
Members of the Planning Commission, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Not at this time.
Okay. Let you guys take a seat. I'm sure the members of the audience may have questions. And we did have a sign-up sheet, but don't let that stop you. We'll go down through the sign-up sheet, and then if anybody else has any questions.
Will this be sworn or unsworn?
Pardon me?
Sworn or
Will this be
unsworn?
sworn or unsworn,
You can swear them.
individually or just everybody in the room? And mouth?
Yeah, anybody that wishes to speak, would you please stand up and be sworn?
So if anybody plans on uttering a word while we're here tonight, if you could please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this cause now on for hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? Thank you. And also, as an aside, if you could please not talk amongst each other when I'm trying to take the testimony, it's very distracting. Thank you.
Okay, the first person to sign up was Anthony Tantalo. Anthony? That's, might want to spell your last name for the court reporter, please.
Anthony Tantalo, Tantalo.
And you're at 3315 Logan's Ferry Road.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Just wanted to voice some concerns. My wife Karen and I have been living there about 12 years, and we love it there for the most part. But we've have had some major issues, and I just want to present them today because if the development goes through, I believe it's going to make things worse. I mean, I am familiar with developing, and my son-in-law is a developer in Pittsburgh, and so I'm familiar with the process. Some of the issues that we have had, there's a little stream that runs into Haymaker. I don't even know the name of the little stream, but it crosses right under Logan Ferry, and it flows into Haymaker. Okay, well, for whatever reason, and I think maybe one of the other people that might want to share later, another neighbor, issues that we've been having with water. That little stream has been eroding my yard for years. Actually, it got to the point at the top of my driveway, I lost like 6 feet a yard. I had to construct a railroad tie wall because that was the cheapest way possible, 200 railroad ties. And it took 2 years for me to do it with some help because I'm in construction myself. So that kind of stabilized me losing yard there. But it's still, but my neighbor on the other side of me, she's now losing yard because all that water coming down is eroding her yard. She's not here today, but she lives on the same side of Logan Ferry as me. Her name is Jane Logden. She couldn't make it tonight. But, so that stream it's doing damage. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. Another thing that's been a really major problem is the sewage. Major problem. I have a big yard, it's 2 acres. I love my backyard. Haymaker Run runs the whole, that little stream is the border of my one side. Haymaker runs all the way down, I own 2 acres, and Haymaker runs all the way down my yard to the. Well, what I can tell you is, besides the sewage last year, 2 times in my yard, backed up from the sewer lid in my yard, raw sewage all over my yard, twice last year. Just over the winter time, my neighbor across Haymaker, I guess his address would be Sardis. He is not here. Over the winter, the sewer in his yard backed up 6 times. Raw sewage. And what I could also tell you, which in my opinion is the worst of all, last year, like I said, I spent a lot of time by the stream. Last year, the stream was gray, and this is summertime, and I figured something was wrong, but I thought maybe somebody's upstream digging, doing a little landscaping and a little mud. I didn't do nothing about it. The next day I come out, it's still grayish. So I call the police because I know something's wrong. They contact me with the fire chief. He comes up to my yard and look at it. It's raw sewage running down Haymaker, and it ran for 2 days. He called the DEP right there, and I talked to the DEP later in the week about the problem, and it was the sanitary people. There was a leak somewhere up in Heather Highlands. So for 2 days, sewage ran down that big stream, and the worst thing is, it flows into Turtle Creek. I fish Turtle Creek. The state stocks Turtle Creek with trout. People eat the trout that are caught out of Turtle Creek. That's just the sewage. And I think maybe, I'm not sure, more development unless they do something major with the sewage. And I guess they're in the process. They keep raising my monthly bill. So that could make things much worse, just adding more sewage into the system, which is already overloaded. Hopefully they do something with the bridge down below. I know it's been on the docket for years, and for whatever reason, I don't know, I don't keep up to snuff. But we have major problems with traffic. And there's some other neighbors here. Every day at rush hour, the traffic is backed from the bridge halfway up Logan Ferry. It makes it difficult for me and my wife to get out of our driveway. People don't want to cut your brake. And if you're familiar, and probably most people aren't, coming out of my driveway is very difficult. I didn't know that when I bought the home, but when you're coming from the bridge up Logan Ferry, it's like a blind spot. And actually, there's a sign here that says driveway. That's because it's like playing chicken coming out of my driveway. Whether you're making a left or right, you look to the left, you don't see nothing. You look to the right coming down the hill, you don't see nothing. By the time you're trying to jet out, people are speeding all the time, and they used to put a speed enforcement, which they kind of slacked off on, but it's very dangerous to get out of my driveway. So, more traffic. I'm not going to make that situation any better. And lastly, again, I mentioned the runoff, the traffic, the sewage, and the bridge. So, I mean, I understand, like I said, development. I really have nothing against development, just as long as everything's done properly and these issues are addressed prior to any work going in. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Janet.
3375 Logan Ferry Road. Having
I'm
trouble
sorry,
with the
ma'am,
last name.
I can't make out your spelling there. Could you give us your name, please?
Yeah, Janet Higgins,
Oh,
Higgins.
Higgins.
okay.
It's
And I live
obvious now.
Okay, and I live at 3375 Logan Ferry Road. One of the neighbors, almost directly across from what's going on at that, about what this hearing is about. I have to reiterate a little bit about what John said a moment ago. Mostly, though, it's about the traffic. I could get into a lot of things. I've been there since 1986. The traffic on that road is absolutely horrendous. When you come up Logan Ferry Road, you come up a little bit of a grade, and then as soon as people reach that little bit of a grade, where this gentleman's property basically starts, there's the driveway there, they put the pedal to the metal, and it's like 60 miles an hour going up that road. It is very, very difficult to get in and out of your driveway. From the multiple times that the road has been resurfaced, you have the berm that goes across your driveway. You can't just like quickly turn into your driveway. You have to slow down and turn very carefully because you're going over a big hump. You have no idea how many horns are honking at me and other gestures because I have to slow down to get into my driveway. I have a motorcycle list that's been lately going up and down Logan Ferry on one wheel, up that long stretch of road and back down again. The speed is so terrific that I'm in my kitchen and I can hear the cars racing up the road, and I just hold my breath that they don't go around that curve and have an accident. There's been policemen sitting in driveways, and they stay for maybe 10, 15 minutes, and every once in a while you hear the siren going and they're picking them up, but they're not there long enough to get enough people. It's absolutely terrible. So my biggest concern was, especially when I heard that there was going to be more units, that how much more traffic were you going to be pouring out onto Logan Ferry Road when it is backed up halfway up that hill, because people are using it to get to 286 and vice versa, 286 to 22. How much more traffic is going to be backed up that I can't? I get up every morning and go out to leave my home at 7:30, and I'm sitting there. I've been there sitting in my driveway for as long as maybe 8 minutes trying to get out. 4 people coming down this way, 2 people coming this way. Then when you think you have it clear, 4's coming up this way and 6 are coming down that way, and they're not slowing down for you at all, not at all. They even walking on the road is a very big danger because they don't move over. Another problem right now, in fact, this just happened a few weeks ago, the middle of the road where the yellow lines are supposed to be, it's very rutted right now. So I'm trying to straddle it to protect my tires because there's potholes on the right and there's all this rutting going on down the middle. So I straddle it. I had somebody pass me on the left-hand side on a double yellow line into the oncoming lane while I was going down towards the bridge. John also brought up the bridge. Twice last year, I was able to look at the hole in the bridge and see the water of the creek running down underneath me. That bridge is really scaring me. We're getting trucks up there that don't belong, trucks that look like they're going to Sardis schools maybe. They're really big trucks, and for some reason their GPS is taking them up over that bridge and bringing them another way. Maybe not. Maybe they're going up to join onto 286. But we're getting big trucks up that road that bridge can't handle that anymore. It's very, very bad. So my biggest concern is the amount of traffic that's going to be coming out of that road and or out of that complex at different times of the day and trying to join up. You did not say, excuse me, sir, where the outlet was going to be for the people. But I was told it was going to be the original driveway. And that's a pretty good hill going up there, and I just don't see how people are going to be able to get in and filter in and out, and then the people that want to go left into that piece of property, they're never going to have a minute, a space to get in and out between the cars because there's so much traffic. So that's pretty much what I have to say about that issue. And I agree with him about the creek. I have seen soap suds and everything, and I've been there since '86. Soap suds coming down the creek, it's terrible. It's terrible. And also a lot of people, another problem with that creek too, which scares me, especially getting towards the bridge, is the number of people logs. I kind of have my backyard slopes a little bit. I have an acre, but it flattens out. And I get everybody's mess that is dumped on the edge of the creek and comes down through a flood. I get everybody's stuff. I had a swing set, as God is my witness, in my backyard one time after a flood. And a full swing set, the 2 swings and everything. And there was so much debris that people were putting on the edge of their property that's going in there. I've seen trees, the whole trunk and all floating down there. I'm not exaggerating. I have pictures of it. And it gets worrisome when you're dealing, as he said, with certain things that are in that creek and coming down. The wildlife that used to be there is not there anymore. We used to have muskrats and ducks and many families of ducks and things like that. You don't see anything down there anymore. Don't even see the trout down there anymore that they used to stock. And so it's getting pretty bad.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're very welcome. Thank you for letting me speak. Okay?
Next is signed up is Lee Kincaid.
And also, before the next speaker, if we could silence our phones, please.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Commission. My name is Lee Kincaid. I live at 3352 Logan Ferry Road. I've owned the property since March of 1984. So I've been there over 38 years now. So I've got a few comments to make and some statements to make here. But the first thing I'd like to address is, and it was alluded to here at the start of the hearing, I in no way, nor did my wife, ever request our property to be rezoned. Now, it appeared in the public notice and on the notice that was put on my driveway that my wife requested it to be rezoned. I placed a call to the administrator, chief administrator here a couple of weeks back. His comment was, I'll check into it, I'll get back to you. Last week, I called his new replacement, Mike, I forget Mike's last name. Again, same comment. I'll get back to you. No one's gotten back to him. Still waiting. I'd like to know who authorized my name and my wife's name to be put on that public statement that we requested our property to be rezoned. Because I consider that an invasion of my privacy, and I'm going to insist on a public retraction, a printed public retraction of that error. I'd like to know who's responsible for that error and who's going to take responsibility for it. Because I don't think that's the way the Planning Commission would like to operate.
I would have to assume that it was a clerical error, whoever filled out the sign.
Then what about the public statement, though, on the paper? Was published in the paper?
I can't answer.
Okay. Again, I would like a published retraction. I did not make that request, nor did my wife. I can also speak for Mr. Mike McIntyre and his wife, who live at 3350 in front of me there. They by no means made a similar request. So I'd like a printed public retraction of that error. Someone needs to be held accountable, because again, I don't think this is the way the Planning Commission likes to operate. Okay, enough for that. I want to state that I'm adamantly against any rezoning from R1 to R3. As you've heard from a couple other folks making testimony here, you don't have the infrastructure. We as Murraysville, we don't have the infrastructure in place on Logan Ferry Road to handle additional traffic. You know, I've seen a lot of changes in 38 years on Logan Ferry Road. When we bought our property there, I think it was only just prior to that the road itself was paved. Now it's a major thoroughfare between 286 and 22. I'm sure everyone here is well aware of that. On any given afternoon, traffic backs up well beyond my driveway, well beyond Janet Higgins' driveway, well up to almost the curve there on the hill coming down. You almost have to make a reservation to get in and out of your driveway at times. It's that bad. That road cannot physically handle additional traffic if you rezone to R3 and additional townhouses are built. It's just not possible. Then you've got the problem of the bridge. You know, is it going to fall down someday? I mean, there's a lot of traffic on that bridge, a lot of wear and tear. That needs to be addressed before any other consideration should be made for rezoning of any property along Logan Ferry Road. They just don't have the infrastructure up to the level it should be to handle additional traffic load. Then let's talk about the water runoff in that small tributary, the Haymaker. You know, I made a statement back when Clifton Vista Estates were built. And at that time, I told folks there'd be more water coming down that tributary. And of course, the comment was, well, we're going to put a detention pond in, and that should actually reduce the runoff. Well, it hasn't. It hasn't worked. Yeah, you might be an engineering report saying, well, this is going to help, but it doesn't work. So I don't care whether you put a retention pond, a detention pond, a fish pond, a frog pond. If you're going to put more impervious surfaces in, it doesn't all go to that pond. So that small tributary is a problem now. In severe rains, that tributary goes over the culvert on Logan Ferry Road, overtops the road. And if all you have to do is stop there at that little culvert where that road goes, the stream goes underneath Logan Ferry, and you can see the erosion on both sides, especially on my side. The utility pole has already been moved once. It's only a matter of time before the utility pole is going to have to be moved again. Otherwise, it's going to be down in the creek bed. So again, you've got some severe issues here with water runoff. In addition, and I might be one of the very few people in Murraysville that still has a private well water, but I don't have public water, nor do I want public water. My well water is better quality than Murraysville's municipal water. So I don't want to have anything done that would jeopardize my well water. All right. I'd also like to make mention too. I was in touch with Mr. Mike McIntyre, who happens to be a school teacher, and he's taken a well-deserved vacation in Florida. Booked this place early this spring. Didn't know this meeting was coming up, and I know he sent an email in to the chief administrator, and I want to make sure that's read into the docket.
Well, Mr. McIntyre, it would be incorporated.
Okay, and please, could I ask you to read that as part of the public meeting?
I can provide it to the stenographer. It'll be made part of the public.
Okay, well, I think maybe the public here would like to hear what he had to say. I think that's only fair to him.
Sir, if you keep your remarks to your comments, please, we'll take care of it.
Okay, all right, but I'm just asking that be part of the comments that everyone can hear. All right, I'm available for questions at any time. Again, I've been there for 38 years. I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of changes in that stream. I've seen a lot of changes in Logan Ferry Road in 38 years. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Cynthia Kincaid, Mrs. Kincaid, I assume.
Well, I'm going to once again reiterate what has been said, but I'm going to add something else that was very disturbing that I heard. Sir, I would like you to be the first person on the brand-new townhouses over the age of 55, I am too, to walk to ferries and survive. And survive. Don't let this get done. Somebody's going to get killed. And I'm a nurse, and my girlfriend's a nurse, and we'd be running out there to do it, and we'd probably end up killed. My daughter and Janet's daughter, with the buses coming up and down, and this was back in the 80s and 90s, and it was bad enough then, and nobody listened to us. It's so much worse now. And people over the age of 55 should not be in those homes. I wouldn't even put a teenager in them, and they're a lot faster than I am.
I'm sorry, walk across the road and go through what?
The fire company. I love to walk, and I'm not going to do it. I thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Jeff Richards. Jeff, could you give your address, please?
I mistakenly signed up to make a comment on this one. I'm more interested in number 3 on your agenda here.
Okay, we'll hold up till then. Cecil Breen?
What's the address? 3326.
Good evening. My name is Cecil Breen. That's Sissel Breen.
Maybe pull the microphone towards you a little bit.
Pardon me?
The microphone, maybe
Oh, okay.
it'll make it
Okay.
nice and loud.
Okay.
Thank you.
You can pull that out,
Do
ma'am.
you want the address?
Sure.
3326 Logan
Logan
Ferry.
Ferry Road. Oh, maybe I'm on this right. Who knows? Well, we're going to get some. First, it was going to be, I think, 21 townhomes and about 10, I think, big homes. Now it's down to what, 10 townhomes, and about maybe as many big homes in that area, on those 21 acres. Probably townhomes for over 55, maybe a very good idea for Murrysville. It's a different matter when it's in your side yard, your own little half acre. So this is more of I second everybody else's comments that have been said today. It's very much a concern. The sewage, the traffic especially. You can't walk to Ferris, but I try it sometimes, but I risk my life in doing it. And also the water, right. Now, I happen to be living in the middle of this plan with my husband. I bought this home 28 years ago, and I remarried about 8 years ago. Do you ever hear about Paradise Lost? Well, for us, this is it. It's so peaceful. It's so tranquil. I know the road is busy, but in the back you don't hear anything. You hear the birds. You might have a dozen turkeys pecking away in your backyard. There's the wildlife, the tranquility of looking up in the fields and trees. It's a different matter when it's new construction, whether it's 10 new townhouses or 20, it really doesn't make any difference. It's all the dust and dirt. It's the constant bulldozing of trees, paved roads being paved. Right in your backyard, there may be a townhouse, and they may have changed that on the plan. Right in my backyard, a townhouse, a clubhouse, sorry, which will be there again, tarmac probably. It's just, you know, I'm very happy that the developer is going to make some concessions to make some shields of trees or whatever. New construction goes on for years. It's not done in 6 months a year. When my husband and I are in our 80s, that's it. That's it. Our lives have been totally changed. Now, the privacy of half a dozen people there on that side of Logan Ferry, I can hardly expect anybody to worry about. That would be very unrealistic of me. I just wanted to make the point. I just want to make it point. It makes a difference. It totally will change our lifestyles. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, I mustn't forget, my husband made this little list of some suggestions, actually. It's a list. I can just hand you a copy each.
Yes,
Yes,
give it to me,
give
ma'am.
it to Mr. Morrison there.
It's all about the water and the traffic, and we've heard a lot about it, but do you need several copies?
No, one's fine, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Breen. Those are all that have signed up, but is there anyone else on this side that has any comments or questions? Yes, ma'am. You give us your name and address, please. Yes, you need to come up. And you might have to pull the microphone down a little bit or pull it out of there if you can.
Okay, is that good?
That's good.
All right, my name is Kristen Aiken. I live at 3343 Logan Ferry Road. I've been living there since 2002, which is, 19 years? Ever since shortly after I moved in, we realized that there was a definite water issue. Whenever it would be a hard rain, we wouldn't be able to use the bathroom, couldn't take a shower. It would back up into our bathrooms. The municipality ended up, after a while talking to them about this bad situation, they put a grinder pump in my backyard at their expense. The main line, unfortunately, runs right through my backyard. So when there's something harsh going on weather-wise, it affects me. And I know it affects my neighbors as well. As for the sump pump, they paid for the first one that went in. I have since then put 2 additional sump pumps or grinder pumps in because they don't last forever, which is quite an expense on my part as a single mom. It's cost me upwards of $2,000 each time I have to replace a pump. Even that being said, if it rains hard, it will shut down so that that water can't back up into my bathroom. But once again, I still can't use the bathroom for a lengthy amount of time, because then it will definitely back up into my bathroom until that shield opens up. I can tell you also that there is a manhole that is, I believe, on my property. That water spurts up out of that manhole. That is sewage and everything. I've told them about that since 2002. We went to all kinds of authorities. Nothing was ever done. And now they want to put in more houses, more people, putting more sewage down into my line, into my home. I'm appalled. As for the traffic, I couldn't agree more. It's absolutely ridiculous. It backs up bumper to bumper to bumper for a lengthy amount of time. It's terrible that you can't get in and out of your driveway, and they want to add more people onto our road. I am beside myself with emotions over this. I am very upset. Come spend a day in my house when there's a rainstorm. Any of you, anybody here, and see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Aiken, A-I-K-E-N.
Got one in the corner, Bob.
Gentlemen, sorry, ma'am. Please come forward.
My name is Lisa Lamarca, L-A, capital M-A-R-C-A. I reside in Franklintown at 131 Crosswinds Lane. I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to allowing me to speak, even though I wasn't written down formally. I'd like to first say that as a longtime Murraysville resident, I certainly sit on the side of everyone that has spoken so far. I've lived in Franklintown since 1976. I grew up there and took over my parents' home. I now own my parents' home. We have 176 units in Franklintown. There are another 49 units at Brookside Condos. We all use a 2-lane road to get in and out of our homes. It's the only way we can get in and out of our homes and have access to things like ferries, to have access to things like Route 22 or Route 286. And in all those years, as everyone has stated, we have never advanced or repaired Logan's Ferry Road to take the traffic that it is. I'm a flight attendant. I leave at 4 o'clock in the morning often on the snow-filled roads. Logan's Ferry is never cleared properly at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30. It takes till 9 a.m. till the snow is gone. So now we're going to add all of this traffic. We can't take the traffic we have now. So Logan's Ferry, we have the traffic increase. We have the deterioration of the infrastructure around us. We have severe decay with the bridge. The only access all of us have to Murraysville that we live in is that bridge, and it is severely, and we have nothing being done about it. We have the price that has already gone up that we pay monthly for our sewage to the Franklin Township Municipal Sanitary Authority. The last increase was over $25 a month, and yet you say that we're going to build these units for those that are over 55. That's people that are on a restricted income. You tell me how they're going to be able to afford the cost of their sewage once we have the problem taking place where the sewage that's currently in the infrastructure that we have, the system, can't handle what's there, let alone adding all of these units. We already added Clifton Estates, and that has taken a toll on our wildlife. The stream that feeds, as the gentleman said, the tributary to Haymaker Creek. We have our beautiful steep hillside that is now eroding because of Clifton Estates. We have a green space that is not being protected any longer. And then we go to the noise pollution. We already have, which I know you can't do anything about it because I believe it's in Allegheny County, but in Franklin Town, we have the terrible problem of the Rudder Excavation Company and the noise pollution that we incur daily where we live. Then we added Clifton Estates and the noise pollution that has now been going on for quite a few years from that construction. Now we're going to add to that. At that point, what do we have? What solace do we have in Murraysville, the beautiful community that Murraysville has and has always been? What do we have left? Because now we have no peace. We have no ease to get in and out of our homes. We have nothing safe to travel on because our roads aren't safe, and we can't afford to live there. And I feel that you're outpricing all of us, not just those that are on a restricted income that these homes are supposedly being built for. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Anyone else on this side? How about over here? Okay, I think we'll close the public hearing. If I have a motion to close the public.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Patty, here's a list of the people that signed up. And I don't believe we're going to make any decision on this tonight. It's going to be, we've heard all the comments. I know I've taken notes, Jane's taken notes, everybody's taken notes. So when would this come up again, Jim?
Bring it back in July.
Back in July. The Planning Commission at that time will make a recommendation to council on this matter. Okay? So you're all welcome to stick around and hear what else we have to other topics of development in Murraysville. But the next item on the agenda is we have to schedule a public hearing for a conditional use application. This is for the Hermes gas well development.
This wouldn't even print.
This is further out on Logan's Ferry Road.
Okay, thank you.
Across 286.
Yeah, on the other side of 286, out by Hankey Church Road. So, Mr. Morrison, when would this be scheduled?
Public hearing, we could schedule for July if you'd like.
Everyone in favor of July?
Make a motion for July.
Second.
Moved second, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And forgive me for a moment, we did not approve the minutes from May the 10th. I bring that up right now.
I wasn't here, so I can't.
Yeah, I read through them and I have no comments.
Yeah, I don't need it.
Somebody, would you care to make a motion to approve the minutes from May 10th?
Yeah, I so move.
Okay, second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the recommendation for approval of an application for major land development.
Wait, did we do this conditional use public hearing, or are they all one and the same? This is a conditional use, and that's the major land development. We could do both public hearings at the same time?
Yes, I am sorry, I just assumed we were doing that all at once.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm here on behalf of Olympus Energy. We're happy to hear that you're scheduling the hearing on this. But if you recall, last time around with the Bollinger Interconnect, we did a short presentation just to kind of give the Planning Commission a preview of what would happen at the hearing. We're happy to do that tonight, but if you're in the interest of your agenda, you don't want to do that, that's fine. We found it helpful just because you had some suggestions for us that we were able to address when we came back to the formal hearing.
The chairman is negligent here, and he didn't read his agenda properly, but we do have to consider acceptance of the
application.
of the application for tonight. And I think that that's all we're going to do is accept the application as being complete. And
Is it complete?
yes, it is complete.
Okay.
If you'd see the large number of boxes back there that are with this application, you can't help but think it's complete. I haven't looked in the boxes. Maybe it's just cut up paper. We don't know. But I looked at it online, and it seemed like everything was there.
Both the briefings indicated that it's near complete. It's in position to be accepted.
Okay, so can I have a motion to accept the application for the major land development?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, sir, did you wish to tell us anything new?
Yes, I appreciate the commission's indulgence here. My name is Blaine Lucas. I'm outside counsel from Baps Cowan for Olympus Energy. As your agenda indicates, we have both a conditional use and a land development application pending for what is known as the Hermes well pad, keeping with Olympus's theme of naming after Greek gods. Mr. Chairman, as you noted, it's on Logan Ferry Road. And to the extent applicable, Olympus is also requesting conditional use for the major excavation. Tonight we have just one, we have several individuals here, but the idea was to have our civil engineer, our project manager from CEC, Ryan Daly, just give a general overview of the project, just so the board or the commission has a general sense of what the project entails. Again, last time we found that helpful because we had some suggestions right off the bat that we were able to incorporate when the public hearing came up. I would say that Mr. Daly is the guilty individual for generating most of the materials in those boxes, or at least coordinating that.
All those trees he cut down. Okay, sir.
Good evening. As Blaine mentioned, my name is Ryan Daly. I'm a project manager with Civil and Environmental Consultants. Hopefully, as Blaine mentioned, the goal tonight is just to orient you all with the site layout, and some of the information that was provided in those ginormous application packets. So if we could get the overhead screen up here, I have a plan on the table. So as Blaine mentioned, this site is located along Logan Ferry Road, quite a bit north of the last project we just heard about. If you're familiar with Route 286, it comes out of Plum, actually turns into Route 380. That's located on the bottom right-hand corner of this page. Actually, Route 286 then bends off to the east, and 380 continues to the west into Plum. Logan Ferry Road intersects Route 380 at this location, and then heads north up towards, as you mentioned, Hankey Church Road, which is at the top of the page. So our well pad site is going to be located off to the west of Logan. This property is zoned in the RR district. It's also within the oil and gas overlay district. It's approximately 147 acres. Part of the property actually extends into Allegheny County and Plum Borough. So the county line runs north-south through the middle of this property. The entire well pad and the access road will be located in Murraysville, which is why we're here tonight. And Olympus has coordinated with Plum, since we are so close to the Plum boundary, and they are aware of it. And they've agreed that since the entire well pad is located within Murraysville, that Murraysville's ordinance would control development of the site. So touch real quick on setbacks. The oil and gas ordinance for Murraysville does have a 750 foot setback from a protected structure to the edge of the well pad. That's shown. It's probably difficult to see on your screens, but that's shown by a orange dashed line around all the nearest protected structures. Now, if you're familiar with Logan Ferry, you will know that there are two properties directly east of this site along Logan Ferry Road that would be within that setback area. However, Olympus did obtain waivers from those property owners, which were submitted with the application. And based on the staff's review, those were sufficient for this site. So the 750-foot setback would not apply to those properties. Additional setbacks in the oil and gas ordinance would be 350 feet for access road and all temporary and kind of permanent ancillary equipment with the site. So again, with the exception of those houses that have been waived along Logan Ferry Road, there are no other protected structures within 350 feet of the site. And then the last setback is just 300 feet from a recreational area. And I believe the closest recreation area is actually in Plum, which is over a mile away. And then the closest one in Murraysville is the Tomer Reserve, which is about 8,000 feet away, so about a mile and a half away from this site. Olympus did hire Stahl Schaefer Engineering to do some traffic studies and look at haul routes into the site. The haul routes and the traffic study were provided with the application. We have two routes proposed to get into this site. The first one we're showing here is coming from the northeast along Route 380. Traffic coming into the site would make the right to stay on 380 to the four-way intersection with Logan Ferry, then make the right, head north on Logan Ferry to access the site. If you're familiar with that intersection at 380, making the left back on 380 to head north would not be good for trucks. So coming out of the site, they are proposing to come straight through Logan Ferry back down to 286, where they have a little more space to make that left-hand turn to head back north and east on 380. The second route we have here is trucks coming from the south off of Route 22, would follow Route 286 up through Plum. Similarly, we'd make the left into Route 380 at the same location, come back to Logan Ferry, and then make the right up to the site. And similarly, coming out, instead of coming straight through Logan Ferry, they could go back out and make the right to come back south on 286.
Left.
And the idea behind that is that they're now coming out unloaded, so it's easier to make the turn, or what's
I think if you're familiar with that, that intersection is kind of blind with vehicles coming north on 286, and also trying to make that left-hand turn coming out of there from the other route would be difficult. So that's why the other route proposes coming down Logan Ferry and making the left back on the 286 that direction. Coming out this way, making the right, obviously you only have the one way of traffic to concern yourself with, and you have a lot longer sight distance there to allow trucks to pull out.
that road they're proposing to use is a pretty narrow, tight road with houses real close on that road.
I think they're bypassing that short section between.
The short section between 380 and 286. That's not an access that you're proposing to use.
Oh, that's up closer. Okay, I see it now.
Yeah.
So you're referring to this short section?
Yes.
No,
here.
I was referring to the one up at the top. Yeah, that little piece. No, go up north. Yeah, right there.
Okay. Yes, and that's actually the connection with 286 that the overpass goes above 380 there. So they won't be using that stretch.
But are they using that,
Yes.
they're using that stretch there?
Yeah, they're
So
going to
the
come down
current-
there and make a left.
Yeah, the current proposal would be vehicles exiting the site could come down that stretch and make the left back onto 380.
But I think
286
Ed's
and
comment
380.
was that road is very narrow.
Correct, and Olympus and Stahl Schaefer are working with.
Going to widen the road.
Correct, so they're still working through that. We hope by next month's meeting that we'll have more information to provide with you there.
Okay.
So this plan I have up now is a closer site plan drawing of the site, shows more of the grading. Again, just walk you real quickly through the site layout. Again, entrance off of Logan Ferry Road. If you're familiar with where the MAWC water tower is, the access road will come off of the same location at the top of the hill on Logan Ferry. The first 50 feet will be paved asphalt, and then the rest of the access road will be gravel. From Logan Ferry Road down to the well pad is going to be approximately 1,300 feet long, 24 foot wide. And then we also have a short section through the middle of the access road here that's going to be widened an additional 10 feet to allow trucks to move off to the side. And it will also allow them to situate a guard shack when they have active operations on the well pad.
Are you aware that there's a water line crossing there from the MAWC system?
Yes, and that water line follows their access road, and then we'll actually cross it right in this location, and then it goes down and parallels Logan Ferry. So yeah, we surveyed that water line in.
Okay.
The pad itself, very similar to the Titan well pad, approximately 350 feet wide by 520 feet long. We do have kind of a little kind of jog in the corner here, just based on topography. But generally, the pad size will be the same as Olympus's standard. That as well will be gravel cover. Similar to Titan, it would have a 2-foot high earthen berm the entire way around the perimeter. That both serves for secondary containment and for safety purposes. As far as
two ponds on there?
So we actually have 3 stormwater ponds, one here, and then one down here, and then a 4th smaller stormwater BMP, similar to a rain garden, that'll control stormwater from the entrance area.
And so all those discharge to the existing ponds on the farm?
Correct. So they'll discharge to the streams that are tributary to the farm ponds, correct. And so as part of the review letters that Jim mentioned, there were a few comments on the stormwater design from the engineer, so we'll be addressing those this month. And we also have an E&S permit in with DEP for review of this site.
The water used in the drilling operation, will that be piped in?
Yes, and I'll touch on that in a minute, but they are committed to piping their fresh water during the completions operations. And the ponds I just identified here, they're only for stormwater management. They're not allowed to use that water as part of their operations.
You have a holding pond on there?
So that they will not have a separate pond. They could utilize a temporary above ground storage tank that would be located on the pad. So you can think of that as like a big swimming pool almost.
Where is the source? What is the source of water?
So yeah, I'll touch that now. So Olympus currently has a constructed withdrawal from the Allegheny River in Plumboro. The intent right now is for them to pipe that water over to this site. Now they are still working on their right-of-way agreements, so we don't have that route to present you. But they've committed to piping all their fresh water for the completions operations at this site.
Is this an above-ground line?
So some of that would be based on the final land agreements. They would intend to lay as much of it as above ground as they can. Obviously, road crossings they'd have to install below grade. But depending on what the landowner preference is, whether they prefer it to be buried or just temporary, will kind of determine the final final plan for the water line. So just a couple more things on the site layout here. We'll have 6-foot high chain link fence around the well pad and the stormwater ponds to provide long-term security at the site. There'll also be a gate near the entrance to the access road that'll be locked. It'll be set back far enough that any trucks coming to the site could pull off the road completely and open the gate. Also, any first responders would be given access to that gate too if they ever needed to get through there. Lighting at the pad, they will need temporary light plants when they have active operations, so whether that's drilling or completions. And those will be similar to what you'd see on a typical construction site. So the telescoping, 20-foot high lights pointed kind of downward and inward on the site. Then you could potentially have a small light plant and a guard shack along the access road. But similarly, any lights they would have there would be pointed back towards the well pad, so not out towards the neighboring properties. And I'll touch on sound in a minute here, but they will have 32 foot high the perimeter of the well pad. So any of the light plants themselves will actually be lower than the top of the sound wall. And there would be some lighting at the top of the drill rig derrick, which is going to be above the sound wall. But that's really required for safe operation, so there's not much they can do about that. Next plan I have here is a landscaping plan. We did get comments from the Environmental Advisory Committee suggesting that we should incorporate additional tree and shrub plantings. So we'll take a look at that prior to next month's meeting. However, I'm just going to walk you through our intent with the landscaping here. So if you're familiar with this site, most of the area where the well pad is going to be located is open pasture field at the moment. There are woods off to the west and to the south. And then there's some small tree line along Logan Ferry that's left after the water line construction. So really our intent here was to screen the pad and the stormwater ponds from the east where it's kind of open already. So everything from the west is already going to be screened with existing vegetation and existing topography. So again, we have a mix of trees and shrubs planted along the north edge of the well pad, and then some variety of trees and shrubs coming around the east side of the ponds and the access road. So I think in total we have it here. So in total we're proposing 73 trees and 307 shrubs on the site, which is about little under half the ordinance requirement. So we have requested a modification to the landscaping requirements here. And I would note the comments from the EAC didn't really provide any guidance as to really what they would like to see from the landscaping plan. They just kind of indicated they'd like to see more landscaping. So that's something we're going to evaluate prior to next month's meeting. So before I discuss this plan, I'll talk a little bit on schedule. They are planning to construct the site next spring. So about a year from now, they would anticipate starting construction. First trip for drilling would be December of next year through February of 2024. Completions then would pick up directly after, so starting in February through April of 2024. And then production, they'd anticipate to start in August of 2024. Now, they do have a second trip as well to drill additional wells at this site. And right now, their plan is to start in March of 2025. And drilling and completions would go through December of 2025. So what I've shown here are kind of the first two trips. So 4 wells on the first trip, 4 wells on the second trip for a total of 8 wells, basically in the next 3 years. And there's always the potential for additional wells and additional return trips after that time frame. But Olympus has agreed that they would come back and seek approval for those additional wells if it extended beyond the time frame we've proposed for the first 2 trips.
You're proposing, though, that the first 2 trips are part of this application?
Correct, yes. Just based on the planned schedule right now of completing the 2 trips here in the next, roughly 3 years.
Okay.
So again, we talked about temporary water storage. This circle here would represent above ground storage tank if they needed to store water on the site. So they could pump water through their water line, store it in the tank there, and use it during their completions operations. Construction trailers and job trailers along the north side of the pad, and then pipeline equipment and production equipment over on the southwest portion of the site. One other thing that Olympus incorporates into all their well pads is a continuous circulation of vehicle traffic. So they always allow for trucks and vehicles coming into the site to make a continuous loop. That prevents vehicles from needing to reverse and turn around on site. Also helps for efficient flow. So that's one safety item that they incorporate in their well pad layouts. So we already touched on water sourcing briefly. Again, they fully intend to pipe their fresh water during completion operations. They would need to truck some fresh water during drilling operations. However, that's not the heavy truck period that you always think about. That's the completions period, and that's when they intend to pipe the fresh water. And then they've also, as they develop more wells, they will utilize recycled and produced water reuse from some of their other sites. But again, that represents a very small fraction of the overall water use at the site.
Those trips have been identified in the transportation study.
Yeah, I believe so. We can provide you with more details next month on those numbers.
How are you getting the gas off the site?
So the proposed plan right now is for a pipeline to come from the north, and I will actually flip back. So there's actually an existing Eastern gas transmission line that runs from Plum, from the northwest of the site, runs through this same property, and then crosses down through Murraysville. The plan is actually to pipe the gas north out of the well pad, and then loop around and tap into that Eastern gas transmission line. So the pipeline itself will be on the same property as this, and we're currently working on finalizing that design. And actually, a lot of that coordination will go through Plum, just based on where the tap site's going to be.
You're going to have a compressor station there?
So there'll be no compression there. It'll just be a tap into the eastern line.
Just a metering station then?
Correct, yes. And then lastly, in accordance with the noise ordinance, Olympus did hire acoustical control to prepare an ambient sound study as well as a sound impact assessment. So the ambient sound levels actually exceed the nighttime maximum ordinance, or maximum requirements per the ordinance, which are 45 dBA during the nighttime hours and 50 dBA during the daytime hours. So the 72-hour ambient survey actually came back at 48.5 dBA, which is above the nighttime level and below the daytime level. So because of that, we have requested a waiver of the noise requirements during drilling and completions operations, simply because the ambient is already above what the nighttime allowable level is.
You're proposing to set up sampling stations?
Yeah, they could do that. And then as far as the sound impact assessment goes, they did model the site with 32-foot high sound walls. And at the receiving properties, the maximum exceedances or the maximum sound levels are anticipated to be between 45 and 52 dBA. So as such, that's why we're requesting the waiver of the noise during those stages of operations. And a waiver of the noise requirements. The ambient was close to 58 dBA, and the waiver allowed for an additional 10 dBA above that. So we're anticipating that the max sound levels here would be less than what the model showed at the Titan well pad.
You anticipate electric generators on this site?
Not sure where our contract is and stuff, so, I mean, we're currently utilizing that.
It would be nice to continue that use.
So really, I think that covers the meat of it. Just going to touch briefly on a couple of the additional documents that were in the application if you care to review those. We did submit the environmental impact study, community impact study, hydrogeologic report, air quality study, PPC and emergency response plans, waste management plan, and then we also submitted the additional permits and applications that we've submitted to the DEP thus far for the project. And then, as Jim mentioned, we did receive the municipalities review letters on Friday, so we'll be working to address any of the outstanding comments prior to next month's meeting.
Okay.
So that's all I have if you have any questions.
Up here? Okay.
No? Thank you.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
For the information.
I'm just curious, you're saying you're going to bring basically Allegheny River water all the way up to the site?
Correct.
Pretty good haul.
Yeah, it's
The pump station's already in
5.5
place.
miles. Yeah.
Pardon?
It's 5.5 miles. Yeah. Yep.
It's already installed, lines up over the hill to the, what do you call the one on?
The Midas well
that's the
pad.
Midas well pad.
Yep. Yeah, and they've utilized that withdrawal for that site already.
Is it gravity from Midas over to this site? Or is there, you're gonna have to pump it, right?
I say that I don't know. I assume they'll have boosters. Yeah.
Okay. There was someone here, I don't know whether said they wanted to address something on the agenda tonight. Who was that? Pardon me?
For a Dollar General.
It's for the next item.
Oh, okay, it was for the next item?
Yeah.
Dollar General, okay, sorry. Just trying to make sure we weren't missing anything on
You've been in touch with Plum Planning then? Okay.
Yeah, we met with Plum both to discuss the well pad project and the pipeline project. And since the entire well pad and the access road are going to be on the Murraysville side of the county line, they've agreed that we'll just be required to get a grading permit from them for any ENS controls or disturbance that occurs.
How about the pipeline?
They're going to require approval through their, I believe, conditional use and land development process.
Okay. All right, nothing else on this matter? We'll get to see you guys next month. Bring a car so we can raffle it
Exciting,
off.
liven this place up.
Rotary's raffling off a 1986 Chevy Coupe Corvette.
Yeah? Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we can. I'll bring tickets next month.
Okay. Okay, next application is for major land development, SP 222 for Dollar General. This is on Route 66. Someone representing the applicant?
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Bob Gage. I'm with GBT Realty. We are a development company out of Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
All ready to go?
Yep.
So are you familiar with the location of the site? We are northeast side of Freeport Road, State Route 66, immediately across from Ringertown Road. And we are proposing there a 10,640 square foot retail store, access drive, parking lot, utilities, and associated stormwater management facility. This site, it's a little odd. You can see the large dash line running through the site. A portion of it, 2/3 of the site, is located in the municipality of Murraysville in the B zoning district. The other third of it is located in the Salem Township, and there is no zoning there. This is essentially a use by right location for this type of development. We do have a couple issues that we are requesting. Specifically, one is we are asking for a waiver for the landscape requirement screening along the frontage of the site. Your ordinance requires a 4-foot tall screen wall across the front of the site. We're asking for a reduction in that. We are actually proposing 123 24-inch tall shrubs that will basically ring the parking lot, providing screening on that side of the parking lot as well as all the rest of the parking lot. But we're also adhering to your landscape ordinance, which requires a fairly large amount of trees, specifically on the southern side of the property. And they also ring the parking lot, and there are landscape islands within the parking lot, and we are adhering to all of those local ordinances. So one of the things that we need to discuss is the proposal of a reduction in that screen wall across the frontage of the site. I understand that there is some concerns from the board. I believe my engineer had translated to me that you have requested a TIA, which we are currently working on, the traffic impact assessment. We expect to have that back from our traffic engineer by the end of this week. So as soon as we get that back, we will be submitting that with the rest of the materials. Let's see. There are also some concerns regarding the planned bike path. To the north side, northwest side of the site, you can see the dashed area that's running top of the page to the bottom. That is the location of the proposed tunnel for the bike path that runs under 66. Currently, there is no easements in place for this, and that's something that we are working with the county to grant those proposed easements and trying to work with them and get all of that worked out so that space is provided for the bike path. I understand that is a fairly large issue for the board. We don't have any issues with it. We will do everything we can to work with the county and get that worked out. Do you have any questions for me in regards to anything?
Sir, do you have a copy of a letter from I guess this is the county's engineer, from the Westmoreland County Bureau of Parks and Recreation? It's just dated, this letter's dated May the 25th, but I believe it wasn't submitted to us until the 10th of June, from Mackin Engineering.
I did see that in this package. Westmoreland County. Mackin, yes, sir, I do have that.
May 25th?
May 25th, yes, sir.
Okay.
From Mrs. Jeff Richards, it looks like. I'm sorry.
This is
Besterman.
Besterman, yes. Sir. Apparently, they have some. I don't think there's anything here that kills the deal, but some questions, mostly regarding utility and discharging from the rain garden.
Yes, sir, and we are currently working through those issues. My engineer is working with them. The utilities, I believe that there's a little bit of a conflict as far as where they're going to cross the road and the bike path. That is what the issue is, the way that I understand it, and my engineer is currently working with them trying to get that location solidified so we can work with them in construction of that when they start construction, the tunnel going under 66. I think that's the biggest issue, is they don't want us to connect in such a way that they have to come back and move our utilities once they start construction on the tunnel.
That'll be a problem for everybody, problem for you, and as far as operation, if you have to interrupt service or
Correct.
anything.
Yes, sir. We are currently working through that issue. It is not resolved as of yet, but we are working back and forth and trying to get a location that works for us and for the county.
So as I understand it, we're still waiting for the traffic impact study.
Analysis.
Have you applied to PennDOT yet for your HOP?
We have, yes, we did apply to PennDOT. They are not requiring a TIA. We received an initial PennDOT review letter on 6/1. We're working to address their comments and resubmit.
Is there anything else, Mr. Morrison, you're aware of that we're?
There was some concerns about the type of plantings in the detention facility being willows.
Willows.
Yeah, willow's a pretty dirty tree. Worried about clogging up the outlet structure.
We are showing 3 willows, but I don't see where that's a big issue. If that's a problem, we can certainly change that.
Okay.
Anything else, Jim?
Yes, the design of the building
And?
doesn't meet the architectural requirements.
We are aware that it does not meet. We typically, your requirements are a little bit vague, so we just wanted to basically get the feel from this board as to what you were after. I understand that the prototypical building is not something that is acceptable, and we are prepared to upgrade that building. One of the questions I've got for you, is that going to be required to be upgraded on 4 sides?
Yes.
All 4 sides?
Yes.
Even the side facing the bank on the back of the building? Interesting. Okay.
I brought up some designs on the website. There's some rather nice designs you have there.
Of some previous buildings?
Yes.
Yes, sir. There are some in there that I don't want to look at again.
Split block doesn't work. There's no glazing on the drawing that I've seen.
Now, the glazing that is required, that can be opaque, yes?
Yes. But any of those designs that I found on your website are much more aesthetically pleasing than what you've proposed here.
Yeah, what we've submitted is just a prototypical building. Basically, where your cursor is, you just passed one that was prototypical, right there, right there. That one, yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's the prototypical building.
That doesn't work for us.
I understand.
So, Planning Commission has to make a recommendation and review the architectural design. So, I would suggest that what you're going to propose there be forwarded to us.
So, next meeting, I'll bring some colored renderings of a couple options, and we'll try to adhere to what, as close as we can to what your ordinance reads. I will probably be asking for some type of a waiver for the rear of the building, if that's possible. Is metal not allowed at all,
There needs to be breaks in it,
even whenever it's facing a bank on the back side of the building?
all 4 sides. So, depending on what you do with the 3 sides everybody sees, maybe the waiver can be considered for the rear.
And
It's a rural setting. A rural building would look nice there.
I understand, sir. Okay, I will certainly do that. And
You have a time waiver for me? Okay, great.
45 days, correct?
That should be sufficient.
Setback.
Yeah, we'll work that out.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, not at this time. We'll look forward to seeing you next month, I guess.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Hopefully, we should have more information regarding the outside sources.
Excuse me, there was a gentleman that had a question or whatever for us.
No, I simply thank the commission for entering Mackin's comment letter into the proceedings here. Sounds like they're working with Michael. Yes.
All right.
Hope your trip back is a lot easier.
A lot less eventful.
Yes.
I do have 2 more stops to make before I get home, but I appreciate the sentiment. This was a little bit of a rocky one getting up here today, but it happens.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. See you next month.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is an advisory discussing major land development for a Get-Go that wants to build a car wash.
Let go.
A Wet-Go. And your affiliation?
Good evening, everyone. My name's Lee May. I'm Site Development Manager with Get-Go.
Okay.
Well, I have your site plan up there now. If it's different than that, I'll try to drag it over, but for some reason, the last one didn't work, but I will certainly attempt it.
It does show the stacking a little better on this one.
Okay.
If you want to try. There's 2 files. The one that has the tabloid in it, all the drawings will be the same size.
Is it tabloid, you said, all pages? Okay. Now, see, that one worked fine, so it was the other guy's jump drive that was the problem.
And don't look at the page count. It's only the first few. The other ones I attached were just in case a question comes up.
All right.
So
Where you want me to be?
First page is good?
All right.
That's the existing bank site.
Right.
Right. And there's an aerial on the first page, but if everybody's familiar with where the site is, we can start here. I gotta get my notes here. And I'd also like to mention, again, my name is Lee May, Site Development Manager with Get-Go, and also have Josh Hato here with Wooster, if we have any, for him to hear firsthand any traffic concerns as well as answer any questions you might have. So the site right now is an existing, it's a bank. It is about 3,800 square feet as far as the building. And the size, if we look at the survey, the size of the parcel is about 56,000 square feet, but that includes areas in the right-of-way. So once we subtract out the right-of-way, the entire site is closer to about 42,000 square feet, so just under an acre, less the right-of-way areas. The existing site has about 30 parking spaces, so it's a pretty typical layout for a bank of this type. You can go to the, I think, we can always come back to that if there's questions, but this is the proposed site. What we have here is our tunnel wash system. I don't know if I have a way to point, do I? I would just describe it. Do you have a pointer?
Mm-hmm.
So across the bottom of the page is William Penn Highway or Route 22. So you can enter the site, bear to the right, and come around to the back of the site. And this is where we have 2 lines of queuing. One line is for paying customers. The other one is for people that have a subscription. And the car wash subscriptions are becoming very popular. And with that, you have a transponder, so you just come through the kiosk gate here, and then you can proceed to the queue for the wash. You'll circle to the left as you're coming through and enter the car wash on the west side, and then you'll come through the wash and out the other side. From there, you can either leave the site either by Old William Penn or down to Route 22, or you can circle into these vacuum spaces. These are the vacuum spaces. We have 9 across the top or closer to the building, and then we have a few additional ones on the William Penn Highway site. And that was one of the items I pointed out in the questions was, as I read the code, I interpret it as meaning that a vacuum would be considered an accessory structure. And if that is the case, these vacuums do encroach the setback or the yard, front yard. And I should also mention this site has 2 front yards, both Old William Penn and William Penn Highway. Again, we are also proposing some good planning design to have a connection to the get-go as well, so that you won't have to go out onto the highway to come into the the wet-go if you want to use both facilities. Should mention that this, of course, is zoned beef business. Car wash is a conditional use, and we do meet, I believe, all the conditions except for there's one that might need a little clarification, and that is it does state in I think this is 22031D1. That all washing facilities must be enclosed within the structure, which they are, but as an ancillary use would be the vacuums, and they are typically outside in the parking spaces at the front of the building. And I don't know if that would be considered something that we could, if that would be okay, that the vacuuming of the vehicles was outside the structure.
I don't think so. I think that it's rather clear it has to be enclosed.
So inside a building with two walls, I think, and a roof?
I forget what the exact
I think it
language
was
is,
two
but
walls
it's
and a roof.
something like that, yes.
Okay, all right.
How many vacuum stations do you have there?
On this one, so how it works is if you can, of the spaces, we have,
13.
13. You can, if you pull into a vacuum space, you on your left side or the driver's side, you can use that vacuum, and then you can use the other vacuum on the passenger side. So it kind of can operate from either one, whichever works better for the customer.
So you need 2 vacs per space.
It works out that way. Or you can you can pull the hose and do the entire car, but they are free vacuums, so you don't have to worry that you're rushing. Oh, my quarters are. Remember the old ones where you had to kind of hurry up and get your vacuuming done before your time ran out. But,
Yeah, you used to be able to get air for free, too. Yeah. Now the get-go charges down there, charges for the vacuums, too. Do you really need 13 vacuum stations?
Well, what we're finding is they say the ideal number is 14, and that's based on kind of what we're learning. A lot of this, we're continuously trying to improve our facilities as we learn more, and there are peak times when there's a need for 14. And they said on sites that there's room, we'd like to do as many as 16 or 18. And I think it's because you don't want to create a queue for a vacuum station, because that would cause a lot of disruption to the flow of the site.
So with those 5 fronting 22 and the desire of being enclosed, I don't know that we would find acceptable just any kind of enclosure there. You're going to have to dress that up in some way, or just eliminate them.
Okay.
Is the entrance off of Old William Penn necessary?
Oh, yeah, I should have mentioned was there's 2 existing entrances there. They're kind of gray in the background.
Yeah.
One on the west side we would be closing off. The one on the east side we were going to keep open. One of the big benefits to that one was access for the dumpster enclosure. And
where's the dumpster enclosure?
It's very small. It's just a single container unit. It's just a single 6-yard container there. Most dumpsters.
How does that relate to the?
The truck would come straight in to empty it and pull back out. But I see what your question. Would you like us to consider if this access wasn't here, we still would have access through the get-go off of Old William Penn?
Right.
That would be preferred.
Okay. Good thing.
But is that 6-foot retaining wall that you have on here run that whole length?
The on the west side here.
Oh, I thought that was across the back of the Old William Penn.
Yeah, it ends right.
Oh,
It's that
okay, I
heavy.
see.
It's a heavy line there.
Yeah. I would be in favor of you taking a look at eliminating both of those accesses from Old William Penn, since you have access in through the get-go.
Okay, we'll take a look at that. See if
Has there been any thought to a lot consolidation between the 2 parcels?
There was, and there was a lot of internal discussion about that. But I think it gets when the accountants and the attorneys look at a multi-unit company like us, they like to try to keep the uses as separate as possible. I don't know if it's accounting or taxes, or could be the way they put properties in real estate buckets. I honestly couldn't tell you, but I can ask.
We don't listen to accountants or attorneys.
They run the world, don't they?
So, well, okay, so if you did what we asked and got rid of the access from, all the accesses from Old 22, I guess you'd have to create an access easement across the Get-Go property.
Right.
Although you would have access from 22.
Yes. Right. Which that can be, easements could be.
Yeah, just an easement, yeah.
And, I should have mentioned, the existing property line is this line right here. And I apologize, I should have asked, did everybody get a copy of this in advance? I mean, they have a digital copy. Okay, if you ever want to look at it closer. But the existing property line for the bank and Get-Go is here. It takes a little jog right there. We were going to do a lot line adjustment and kind of square it up a little better, too.
Okay, then you can take care of the easement at that time.
You have to submit a subdivision then.
Right.
What are you going to do for water detention on the site? Are you going to use the Get-Go pond?
I don't know that it was sized for that, and I should have kind of mentioned this. We didn't want to get too far into like running with this design until we got some of your input and feedback. So we haven't done the full detailed design for stormwater management. They did look at the grades to make sure that this would work, but we'd have to then address your, kind of incorporate your comments the best we can and do the full-blown engineer drawing.
Recycling water on the site?
Yeah, we will reclaim water.
I think you have the same concerns on the architectural.
Yeah, if you want, that should be the next 3 pages are the architectural.
Yeah.
Top elevation would be the on the side where you enter. The exit is on the Get-Go side there at the bottom. And then the next page is the top elevation will be facing Old William Penn, and the bottom elevation facing William Penn or Route 22. On this side of the building, and these aren't custom drawn for this site. These are our prototypes to get your input or feedback. We do have an office there at the front. That's the door there.
I would think you need some work on the right elevation there.
The right one. Oh, the one that faces Old William Penn?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, right. Very visible. Okay. And then the next page is just some more 3D, because a lot of the times on the 2D elevations, it's hard to perceive the depth, the varying depths. It's about 18 feet tall, with the variation in the parapet up to 22 feet tall for the higher parapet. And I think that's all I had. The rest of the drawings on that are just for reference if the question came up. That's the existing Get-Go and some other things there.
Glazing on that side.
What are those panels?
Yeah, you need more.
The Nietzsche panels, yes. And the first page had the materials, or go back one more, I think. Jim, right there on the left.
You're aware that there's another application in the municipality for a car wash?
I'm aware. I will ask you if you will deny that one.
You can ask. Okay. Well, this is an advisory, so is there anything else you...
Any questions, Josh, traffic-wise? I think there was some...
Josh Hato, David Worcester.
I'll let you have the speak.
So we actually did the traffic study for the Get-Go next door, so we're familiar with the site. this project will need to be scoped with the Department of Transportation for the access onto Route 22. We will be going through that typical process of, if they require us to do a study, we will do a study. But the municipality will be involved in that process as well. And ultimately, we'll be obtaining a highway occupancy permit for that access.
Okay.
At this point in the process, we have not gone into that level of detail. But any general questions, I'd be happy to answer. We've done a number of these, not only for Wetco, but for other car washes. There's a lot of them out there now. Seems to be the big thing. So, yeah, any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
What type of vehicle did you use on turning radiuses there?
Yeah, those were not done by us.
It wasn't a super large,
Okay. Gentlemen, ladies,
Nope.
any questions or comments at this time?
Yeah.
No.
When do you
Appreciate
plan
it.
on submitting a formal application? Couple
just-
months?
Yeah, it'll take a while for us to get through the full design and make get the package ready to submit. Especially, let me see what we can do with the custom elevations. And it's really, well, I'll talk to my engineers, but we're anxious to get it back to you for a review.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Pretty.
Make it look pretty.
Yep.
I think the big takeaway is the building elevations and the access on Old William Penn.
Okay,
All right.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
thank you.
You guys had a long night.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on overtime.
Welcome.
Yeah. Mr. Morrison, the people from the well have left, but are you going to ask for specialty consultants on the noise and the air quality and all that stuff?
Yes, we can send those out.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the cause this evening? No?
Nope.
Carl, anything good from council?
No, it's some of the objections right here, you know, the backing up on Old William Penn Highway, it looks like they're amenable to not having an access on Old William Penn Highway.
Right.
On
That's
this, and
Okay.
otherwise, no.
All right.
You guys are going to have a full dance card next month. Looks like. You got Fustings, Hermes, maybe a pet cemetery or a pet crematory,
What?
a rezoning, and Tommy's Car Wash.
Pet,
Tommy's, that was
pet
one of them.
crematory. Where's the pet crematory?
Technology Triangle.
Technology Triangle. Oh, my goodness.
The 2 car washes right now.
We sent it to the zoning hearing board. They couldn't find a comparable use, so they're coming through conditional use, it looks like.
Over in
Waiting for the
Technology
zoning
Triangle.
hearing board decision now.
Is that going to be in one of the existing buildings there?
Well, that's a new one. I make a motion.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.